Hello, everyone. This is Eric Bone, Sport Techie's VP of Partnerships, and I have the pleasure of introducing our first workshop session today. An inside look at SoFi Stadium, the largest video board in sports, powered by Samsung. I'm excited to introduce our speakers, Scarpy Hedinson, Chief Technology Officer, SoFi Stadium, and Kurt Kessler, Senior Sales Manager at Samsung. With that, Scarpy, I'm going to go ahead and step aside, let you take it away here with Kirk.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Listen, welcome everyone to beautiful SoFi Stadium here in sunny Inglewood, California. Really happy to share a few minutes with you and talk with my good friend Kirk about what we built together. This is actually I'm standing on a patio in one of our clubs, and so this is not CG. This is not a Zoom background. This is the actual thing.
Sorry, I automatically thought that you must have a higher production budget for this interview. I don't have quite the same view, and it's obvious now looking I need hair and makeup on my end for sure, but that looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Why don't I start? Scarpy, people, given what's happened the past year or so, haven't been able to see your project. You think it's a good idea if I go ahead and start and share a video that's a little bit about SoFi Stadium and the video board?
Yep, absolutely. Let's roll.
All right, let's get that started.
Yeah, it was a good look at construction. Kirk, you're on mute.
So trying so hard to not have that feedback during the YouTube video, but that was a lot of fun to go back and relive some of those moments during the construction of it. I know you're going to share some stuff, but I wanted to ask you a couple questions first, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of, I think it's fun for people to learn, like, since this was a new build from the ground up, versus like a reimagining or a kind of a technology upgrade, how'd that kind of change what you guys were viewing as an experience? And I think you mentioned a little bit in that video. So how did that play a role in this?
Yeah, I think like I said on that video piece is that it goes back to Mr. Kroenke's vision for SoFi Stadium, for Hollywood Park, and how it would redefine the experience for our guests, for our fans, right? And as the stadium was being designed, that guest experience, that fan experience on game day was a big part of the sort of ethos of the design. And certainly, you know, you can't really build something of this scale without designing it from the very, very beginning, right? It is the centerpiece of the entire stadium. It is the first thing that is designed. It is the last thing that was actually built and hoisted into place. So, but it was always, the idea was always to push the boundaries of how can we present events, NFL football games, concerts, other events in a differentiated way.
Well, I think you accomplished that. So you know, I probably saw this, you know, four years ago, you know, an initial concept. I'm trying to think, did it change much over time, or was it pretty much similar to what we ended up with here?
Yeah, I think what we ended up with was really a video board that is the absolute maximum size that's constructible in this building. If you saw in that video, when the video board was on the ground while it was being constructed, it barely fit onto the field, right? And so, you know, we had some early conceptual designs where the oval was a little bit larger, but the engineers figured out that there was no possible way of constructing it on site. So what we ended up with is about as big as you could possibly make one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember during construction, right, that, you know, when we looked at that overhead view, you know, we were going to have to be into the seats, right, to be able to work on the assembly, which really wasn't going to, you know, be practical. But do you want to start talking about some of the numbers, or why don't we talk about Hollywood Park and SoFi Stadium a little bit? Let me share a slide here. You tell me if you can see this. Yeah, I can. I hope everyone else can. Okay,
so basically, what we're up to in Inglewood is much more than just SoFi Stadium. We've now formally opened SoFi Stadium. We played 20 NFL games in it last season. It is one of the largest buildings of its type ever constructed at 3.1 million square feet. But we're also on a development site where for the foreseeable future, Mr. Kroenke and the developers are going to be building retail and residential and office space. And if you see that building right to the left of the stadium, that's actually where NFL Media, NFL Network are going to be moving in later this spring and start basically building out their studios and be ready for broadcast for next season. And we, of course, we host the Super Bowl in February of 22. And so all of that preparation has started as well.
That's fantastic. So how many friends have already asked you about access, right? Did that start right after Tampa?
Yeah, pretty much. It comes with the territory, but it's an extensive period, and the NFL is just sort of starting to think about how are they going to activate that site for guests and how to put on a what we think is going to be a really special Super Bowl, and hopefully we're back to normal Super Bowl, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, everyone's hoping, that's for sure. You want to talk a little bit about the video screen? We move to the area and start talking about stuff that people can really sink their teeth into. And wow, that slide kind of says it. So one thing I wanted to mention is when I first saw concepts of this, I was pretty blown away. There's nothing that's ever been done anything like this. But as you know, start thinking about video displays. They're not, I wouldn't call them flexible. So I think that was our first concern, was how are we going to do this double-sided 360-degree ring? But let's go through some of these things that people are probably wondering about, because you lose sense of scale when you've got that behind you, right? It's 44 feet tall, right?
It is. it's pretty amazing, and it is, even to this day, like walking into the stadium, it sort of takes your breath away, right? And the best example is that face, that inside face that I'm pointing to right now. That's the height of a 4-story building, right? And you don't really appreciate the scale until you're sitting in the stadium and you're looking at it, and just how magnificent it is, right? It is 120 yards long. It's oval. It has LED on the inside and the outside. So depending on where you're sitting in the bowl, if you're sitting down low, like over here, you're actually looking at the inside of the board on the opposite side. If you're basically sitting up high, you are looking at the outside of the face that I have right here behind me. And so there's really not a bad seat in this house, and everyone has a direct view of the video board. You're not sort of turning your head to the left or the right. And so as a superstructure, it's enormous, right? It's a 2.2 million pounds, 80 million, LEDs that you guys built for us, 70,000 square feet of display area. But it's also, because of its location, it's very clever, because we use it also to put our amazing audio system in. We have over 200 center out speakers that fire at the audience. We put our ultra wideband millimeter wave 5G radios up there as well, so you get this amazing connectivity when you're sitting in the bowl. I've got a Samsung phone here with Verizon service, and we did a speed test right before we went on, and I was downloading 2.1 gigabits a second, basically sitting out here in the bowl. And so it's an enormous construction feat, and from a technology standpoint is sort of unrivaled. And I will say that you talked about how unique it is, and how you basically you have to sort of rethink how you present content to audiences when they're in the bowl. And that's absolutely what we did, right? We spent about a year prior to the kickoff of the first game in the stadium. We spent that time working with the Rams and the Chargers on the presentation of content, and how should we segment these sections out to maximize the information that we're giving the fans, and to maximize the presentation. And so the graphic control systems, the ribbon board that we built with you guys as well. We've got 5 levels of ribbon board that you can see behind me. All of that sort of creates this very special ambience in the bowl.
Yeah, one thing that you said a couple sentences ago about not really being a bad seat in the house, that was probably one of the first things I noticed, because early on in the project, we spent so much time determining the outside of the video display to make sure that resolution was great for the upper bowl people. And that's something that I don't think a lot of stadiums take into consideration when you talk about, the end of field typical displays that you might see in a facility. The viewing distance is so much closer when you're in the upper bowl and looking at this video screen. And it was pretty unique to see, how much attention was given to that during the planning process.
It really is. And of course, Kirk, this is an 8 millimeter board, as you know, so the resolution is pretty stunning. And I believe when you're in the upper, on the upper GA, as we call it, up on the 8th level, we have roughly 28,000 seats on our top level, and I believe it's the shortest viewing distance to an LED board in the NFL. So absolutely, it doesn't matter where you are sitting, you always have this great view of the action.
What you mentioned that was kind of neat, and I know we're probably spouting off a lot of figures and details, things like that. But there's a lot of screens. There's a lot of different Samsung displays around the property. But I think you mentioned in reality is what you're doing with them and how you're involving fans when they come into the building. That's something like, we can talk about, 3,000 displays, but it's really how they're being used and what's the experience like for people. How do you get to that point?
Yeah, I think, there's a couple of things in there, Kirk, that you mentioned that's important for us to hit on. We have this, really what I call this amazing piece of hardware, right? Which is the Samsung built Videoboard. And we needed to pair that with a live production capability that was just as impressive, right? And so, because they're really two sides of the same coin, right? You can't have one without the other. And so we built a, fully uncompressed 4K HDR, IP video plant to feed the content out to the board, right? And it is, it's roughly about, when we're going full tilt next season with fans in the building, we expect about 80 people to be involved in just creating content for the video board that I have behind me, right? So it's a massive live production just for the benefit of people that are in the stadium.
So, on top of that, what are some kind of other things that, we're not seeing in that, well, we know that's a Hollywood backdrop right there, right? The most expensive Zoom background that you have right there. But what are some other things that really affect the fan experience? Oh, perfect slide, right?
Yeah, we've done a number of other things that specifically with media and thinking about how these stadiums and these events they're so media heavy. The stadium, I think of it almost like a media platform on itself. We have over 2,700 Samsung screens across not just SoFi Stadium but the entire project. Everything from TVs and suites to digital out of home displays on our perimeter to wayfinding signs, etc. And what we did is we centralized the command and control of every single screen in the building, and we run it out of that control room that I showed in the last slide, which means that every screen is a TV, every TV is a sign, and we can basically put content campus wide and synchronize that with what's happening at the on the event. And then on sort of the icing on the cake, figuratively, is this amazing roof LED system that we have on top of the canopy that you see here. It's hard to make out, but there are 27,000 LED pucks sitting on the roof, and we feed that images and graphics because we have about 20 million people that fly into LAX every year, and every flight has this amazing view of that roof and of SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, it seems like everything we talked about, this ecosystem, enhancing the fan experience, it was probably, and this is a discussion for a much longer period of time, but it probably changes the way that you look at marketing for both partners and the team, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, we have an enormous amount of inventory, and we can go to our partners. The teams can go to their partners with a wide variety of options for their messaging. I will say that when we call it the 360 Takeover, which is you basically use every pixel of this video board behind me, as well as every pixel on the ribbon boards in the bowl, and we put a single message on, and that is an enormously impactful messaging capability that we have and our partners have leaned into that, and are getting incredibly creative with how they build their messages using something like this, because that's also something that's very new. And our teams, we build templates and we have creative guides, and we do training for creatives, just so that they can take full advantage of all of these pixels that we have.
Yeah, I know personally, I can't wait to get in there and be part of an event. We've been lucky enough to visit, over the past year at different times. But so that leads me into kind of a question that interests me and probably a lot of people watching is, you didn't have fans, but you produced 20 games. So what were some of the things, like, what did you figure out? What did you find? What was it like for you and the team?
Yeah, it was, well, first of all, it was very unusual to spend 3 years building a place like this and not be able to welcome fans. But what we did is we treated it no differently, right? And full credit to the Rams, full credit to the Chargers. They basically brought in the live production staff. We fully manned all of our cameras, every single position in the control room. And we produced a game day experience like we had fans in the building. And what that allowed us to do is get everyone trained, get everyone comfortable, figure out what our comms are, how to run this incredibly complex show, which is a mix of graphical elements as well as live production. You see that on that slide. And so that was the big win for us, if you will, Kirk, was to be able to really hone the creative craft of how we were going to use all of this technology to present an NFL game. And we can't talk about this without mentioning the sound system, which is, of course, as well from Samsung. But
yeah,
it's such a big part of the experience as well, and it's absolutely mind blowing. I still get sort of goosebumps thinking about it, because I've sort of had the privilege of watching 20 NFL games now in this, and see how we progressively got better in presenting.
I think it speaks a lot to, you go back to that concept of that experience for people, what they're going to have when they come in. So visually, we covered that a lot, but that also enabled you to deliver that audio experience, right? That you can't get from a typical distributed audio system that is, hundreds of feet away from people. So it's kind of, one led to the other, and it looks like it was a huge success. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a very, very clever design when you think about it. It's sort of like, your home theater, right, with your screen right in front of you, with the speakers firing right at you, right?
Yeah, it's another thing, and I know we want also anybody that's watching now to be able to send some questions over. Try not to make fun of me at all. No, kidding about that. But the other thing that you've mentioned in the past was, even though you didn't host fans this year, it's almost like you said something about you're still looking at what you're needing to do to improve and reinvest. And that's it sounds kind of funny, but it seems to be something I hear from other facilities. This isn't something that you just, you opened up and you let it go for a number of years. So is there anything new that you've got planned for the next couple of years? I mean, you're looking all the way out to hosting the Olympics, right?
Yeah, obviously, that's a big mile marker for us, which is the 28 Olympics, and using this building for opening and closing ceremonies. But we are always evaluating, and the thing that is interesting about the technology that we put in, and specifically the video board and the live production capabilities that we put in, is that we're really just scratching the surface on what we can do with it, right? And we look forward to really developing that. We look forward to having music acts in here and concerts, and figure out basically how to make a concert at SoFi Stadium, even more spectacular by using this technology that we have. And then we're getting ready for fans, right? We, knock on wood, we're gonna open the building to fans here shortly, and we're really excited about that. We're looking at all of the things that we need to do to create a sort of frictionless and touchless guest experience in the building, and so I would say that some of the technologies that we had always thought about bringing to the fore, we have accelerated the adoption of that. The mobile applications, everything that we think that is important to a fan to have here.
Yeah, I know that Samsung is going to be testing and possibly launching an AR feature that involves the stadium. And of course, you can't do anything like that without the infrastructure and the platform that you built. So I'm excited to see that. There's so many different things that Samsung throughout all of our different verticals is developing, and we really couldn't do that and showcase it any other place than at SoFi. So it's exciting for us for sure.
Yeah, I think it's an important part of sort of how we thought about future-proofing technology during the construction phase, right? And paying, a lot of attention to, our fiber infrastructure, our converged networking, the capabilities that I would say we have sort of in the technical plumbing of not just SoFi Stadium, but also from across Hollywood Park. It's a beautiful location when you drive in. We have this amazing 20-acre lake, right, which people can walk around and spend a nice day at. And it was important for us that all of the campus was connected, right, in a way that whether you were inside the stadium, whether you were, parking your car or walking up to the stadium, that, it was very clear to you that you had landed at Hollywood Park and at SoFi Stadium, and that experience, that differentiated experience, started right as you drive in, right?
Yeah, I think that was key, and we're so proud and honored to be part of it, because there can't be a better way for us to look at how our technologies can integrate and make that experience better for people. Now, a lot of it is seamless or behind the scenes. You don't see what's going on, but that's exciting for us. And this multi-year build out of the whole Hollywood Park project is something that's exciting too for us, right? So it's much more than just this stadium, even though that everyone's eager just to be inside right now. There's a lot to come for sure. Yeah,
and Dan Kaufman just asked us specifically if what we put on the video board, the content changes with, whether we have COVID limited fan experience and things like that. We don't think so, right? We want to deliver the absolute best experience for folks that are in the stadium. And one of the brilliant things about this video board and the capability that we developed with you guys is that the Rams and the Chargers, for example, are very different in how they present their content on game day, right? And the beauty is that it's really an unpainted canvas, right? And so we give a lot of creative freedoms to the teams. We would give a lot of creative freedoms to other events as they come in. And so we have this sort of unlimited capability to present content and get messaging across as well. And so we could not be better set for delivering that experience when the fans come into the building.
That was a great question from Dan. I think we're bumping right up. I'm surprised Eric hasn't popped in here, but I feel fortunate that we're able to run right up to the limit. I just, I wish we could possibly switch locations. You're more than welcome to my 8x8 box that I'm in right here, because I'd love to have that view. So this is one time when when I'm really jealous of your position. When everyone's calling and wanting stuff, not so much, right?
Yeah, no. Thank you. I mean, you guys have been nothing but fantastic to work with, and we can't wait to host folks here and welcome you to an event.
Yeah, we look forward to it. And again, thank you for the opportunity to work on the project. It was an amazing 4 years. Can't believe it's funny to say 4 years, right, of working on this. But it's exciting to see, and we're happy for people to finally be able to come in and see it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Kirk. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.